All right, so if you're a Java developer, you've probably wrestled with JSON at some point, right? It can be a real pain. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into a really powerful tool that can make your life a whole lot easier, the JSON parser from the WebFirm framework. We're going to cover it all, from the simple stuff to the really advanced features that give you total control. So, have you ever found yourself fighting with your JSON library? Wishing you had just a bit more control over data types, or maybe you've watched your app grind to a halt trying to parse a huge file. If any of that sounds familiar, you're going to want to stick around. We're about to look at a solution that's designed to fix those exact problems. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get our hands dirty with the simple, everyday parsing stuff. Then, we're going to level up and see how the JSON Parser Builder gives you that fine-grained control. After that, we'll get into the most powerful feature, handling custom types for your own objects. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at performance and the key things you need to remember. All right, let's dive right in with the basics. Sometimes you don't need some super complex setup. You just need to parse a string, and you need to do it fast. This library makes those common jobs incredibly simple. So, first things first, we're going to tackle a super common task. You've got a simple JSON object, it's just a string, and you need to turn it into a Java map that you can actually work with.
And honestly, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. First, you just call the static parse method, and boom, you get a JSON map object. Since it acts just like a regular Java map, you can modify it with methods you already know, like put. And finally, when you're all done, to JSON string turns it right back into a JSON string. Simple as that.
And here's what that looks like in practice. Super straightforward, right? We start with our initial JSON with just key 1, we call put to add key 2, and the final JSON string has both of them. It just works, no surprises. Now this is where it gets really cool. You're not just stuck with one kind of map. You have options. If you need to keep the order of your keys, you can use JSON linked map. Or, and this is a big one, if you're in a multi-threaded environment, you can use JSON concurrent map to make sure everything is thread safe. That flexibility is huge. And don't worry, it's not just for objects. The exact same simple idea works for JSON arrays. Whether you need an array list or a linked list under the hood, there's a static parse method ready and waiting for you. Okay, so those static methods are great for quick and dirty jobs. But what if you need more power, more control? Well, that's where the JSON Parser Builder steps in. And trust me, this is a total game changer.
It uses the builder pattern, which is awesome because it makes your code super clean and easy to follow. You basically just chain your commands together. You start a new builder, you tell it exactly how you want it to behave, you build it, and then you have a reusable parser object ready to go.
Check this out. In just one single line, we can whip up a parser that's built from the ground up to produce thread-safe JSON concurrent map objects. You create this once, maybe when your application starts, and then you can reuse it everywhere, which guarantees consistency. And the rabbit hole goes way deeper. This isn't just about map types. You can get super granular. For example, you can force all numbers to be parsed as big decimal, perfect for financial data where you can't risk floating point errors. You can even tell it to produce unmodifiable collections, which is amazing for building immutable, thread-safe objects. You have so much control. All right, buckle up, because now we're getting to what is, in my opinion, the absolute coolest feature, teaching the parser to understand your own Java classes. This is where you can really make the library work for your specific application. The magic behind this is something called a custom factory. Think of it like this. You're giving the parser a custom recipe. You're saying, hey, when you see a JSON object, don't use your default recipe to make a generic map. I want you to use my special recipe to create an instance of my own custom JSON map class instead. And hooking this up is surprisingly easy. You just define your class, tell the builder, hey, I'm using a custom type. And then you literally just hand it the constructor using a method reference. It all just flows together perfectly with the builder pattern we just saw. So, why go through all this trouble? Because now your JSON object is smart. It understands your business logic. Instead of pulling out a string from your JSON and then converting it to a date somewhere else, you build that logic right into the object itself with methods like getValue as local date. It makes the rest of your code so much cleaner. And look at this. This is it in action. We feed our custom map a local date object, and boom, it knows to store it as a simple array in the JSON. Then, when we ask for it back, it perfectly reconstructs the local date object for us. No more manual conversion logic cluttering up your code. So clean. Okay, last but definitely not least, let's talk performance. Because in the real world, you're not always dealing with tiny JSON snippets, right? Sometimes you've got massive, complex objects to deal with, and speed matters. So the library gives you two tools for the job. You've got your standard 2JSON string. It's your reliable, everyday workhorse for most things. But when you're dealing with a monster object, you bring out the big guns, 2Big JSON string. It cleverly uses parallel streams to speed the whole process up. And we're not talking about a small difference here. Look at these numbers. For a really beefy object, the standard method took 152 milliseconds. To BigJString, it crushed the same job in just 48 milliseconds. That's more than 3 times faster. That's a huge deal in a high-performance app. All right, so let's recap the key takeaways here. Quick, simple job, use the static.parse methods. Need more control and consistency? The JsonParser.NewBuilder is your best friend. Want to make the library speak your app's language? Custom factories are the way to go. And if you're dealing with huge data, to BigJSON string is your performance booster. So we've gone all the way from the absolute basics to building our own custom domain-aware JSON objects. The real takeaway here is just how flexible this tool is. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Thinking about your own projects, what kinds of custom types could you build to make your life easier and your code way better?